My name is Darren and I'm sat here with my colleague Nik, who is our professional cake decorator. Today we're going to be demonstrating our PhotoCake application for you, and we'll cover some of the easy-to-use features of the software and hopefully show you how we can create some fantastic cakes. So what we're going to do, we're going to share the screen now, and then what we'll also do, we'll just increase the size of the screen for you. Boost that from your side, so hopefully you'll see that. And what we'll do, we'll run through the demonstration there. So just to cover the agenda off today, so we'll be covering a number of areas. So we'll first of all be covering basic photo with words, in the software and cupcake toppers, how to tie this to a frame with the photo and words, banding for your cake, advanced options for using the system, and we do have a few extra things to show you towards the end. If you have any questions, as we might cover some of these areas that we're covering in the sections, if I could just ask you if we could cover those off to the end. And then, first of all, to kind of introduce you to the process of starting up the application. So we do have a technical support team who will be able to assist you getting this installed and up and running. And what we would also do is help you get that installed. Once that's installed, on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, which my colleague's circling there, see a little PhotoCake logo. And once we're in there, you would log in with your email address and password. And the cake would then start to load up. At that point, obviously, you would need your printer on and connected to your machine. And then that would bring us to the main screen. Now, we will cover a number of the buttons that we're showing on screen there at the moment. But just before we do that, I'd just like to talk you through the process of how you would get credits on the system. In the section of the software, which we're just circling there now, you would redeem your credits. Now, the actual media packs that we have, which we can, obviously we can send across the list of the different media we have. It is important, obviously, to use that media because that media would give you the media credits. So on each pack, for example, you may have a pack of 20 or a pack of 24. You will have a code in there, and then all you would do, once you've got your pack, is input the code in there, in the area we're circling, and then that would update and give you media credits. So once in there, that would indicate on the top right-hand side of the screen how many media credits you have. We will also be working towards licenses as well. As we add licenses to the package, you will also be able to get licensed image credits, which are in there as well, and they can be bought separately. So within the software itself, once you've logged in any media credits, as we can see on screen at the moment, we have registered an SUG 457 pack, which has 20 in there. You're keeping a record of all the media you're buying, and then obviously you'll have the dates that they were purchased. With that, you also have an area where we've got printout history as well. So in the print history, we can see exactly what's been printed and when. So you can get an idea if you wanted to build up, what your most popular prints are on the system. You do have the ability to export that to CSV as well. So if you're wanting a kind of chronological report to run through and see what your most popular images are, you can do that as well. And as I said, that's literally just a case of inputting the code, and that would give you your media credits to work with. So coming back onto the agenda there, so if you go back into the main screen, the first session, which is a basic photo with words, and to give you kind of real-life example, we have a customer come into the shop, and her daughter's name is Becky, and it's going to be Becky's birthday, and what we're going to do is just produce a cake for Becky's birthday. Now, the customer can bring us the photograph, which we can scan on our photo printer, and we can scan it, we can get it that way. We could email that, or get the customer to email that to us from their phone. If you do have Bluetooth on your PC, you could Bluetooth the image across. Or alternatively, if you have a USB pen or CD, you could, providing your machine has a CD reader, you could bring that way as well. So our customer's brought in the image of Becky there. You'll see we've got quite a large image. What we're going to run through there is just cropping down that image. So Ideally, we want to cover the area of the image. You'll see that the tool that you use to do that is very self-explanatory, easy to use, very similar to those that you might find on social media. So with regards to that, we do have buttons which will stretch to the width, so you can stretch out the width of the box, and we do have a reset crop button, which will return that back to normal. We do also have a maximize height button as well. So with this particular customer, we're going to work on a circular cake, but you do have cropping options where we've got a rectangle, we have an edge rectangle, ellipse, a rounded square, and a circle. And we're going to have a round cake today for this example. As you'll see at the moment, the image is in colour, but we can convert that to grey. So again, if we're looking to give it a black and white touch, we can do that. Just for this particular demo, we're going to go with a coloured image. So we do have an undo button, which we can use, and we do have a redo button as well, should you wish to go back on something you've done. So assuming that we're happy with the image and our customer's happy with the image, we can move on to the next section. So the next section, we're really just going to cover off what we can do with the particular image. Now, we do have different types of media sheets, which I mentioned earlier. We will go into that in a bit more detail on one of the sessions, but we do have the printable sheets and we do have premium sheets, and we do have different areas that we can work in as well. As I mentioned, we will cover off some of those different medias in the next couple of sessions. But for this particular image, we're just going to use the SUG 457, which is a fondant sheet. The premium sheets are start sheets, but as I say, we'll cover that in a little bit more detail shortly. So for this particular image, we're going to go with the landscape print. We can do a portrait if we wish. So depending on where you want to position your image and where you want to position your text, you can choose that. So for the particular image, we'll just go for landscape. And if we move on to the next section, you'll see we've got really intuitive options for moving things around on the screen. We can just pick up the picture, we can minimize it or maximize it using the buttons. Now, one thing you'll notice on the screen, it does say on-screen preview, watermark won't print, and that is exactly as it says. The particular watermark won't print, but what that does, it just protects your image, and more so in the event that we do get licensed images on the system, that will also protect the licensed images. So once again, we can minimize, we can maximize the size of the area we're working with. We can bring that to full height, or we could bring that to full width using the two buttons there. As I said earlier, we're going to have a slightly circular cake. We can also rotate the image around using the tool there, really easy to use. And what we can also do as well, we can also add text in there. So I mentioned at the start of the session, it is for a birthday cake, and the girl's called Becky. So we'll just put Becky's name in there. And I've got a massive selection of options there. First of all, what we can do, we can sort of bend the text around the image, as we're doing there. Or we could bend the other way, depending on your image. We could leave it straight if we wish, but we'll go for a slight bend around the curve. And we can change the font on there as well. So we've got a good selection of fonts on there, which will be suitable for the number of customers. Our font, at the minute it's in red. We can see from the picture that Becky likes pink and blue. So we'll either go for a nice blue or a nice pink for the text. And then we've got Becky's name in there. We might want to add something like happy birthday. Now we do have some pre-built phrases already, which will save you having to type. And as you can see, we've got a vast array of those as well, which will suit a number of occasions. But if we go with happy birthday, just for the purposes of the demo, once again, curve that around the actual image, just going the opposite way, and we can maximize or minimize the font size as well. If we wanted to, we can also change the color, the rotation of the actual font there. So, assuming that our customer's happy with the image and happy with the wording, we are pretty much, ready to go there. The text itself, we do have options where you can multi-layer text. Now, we're doing it on this particular demo, but we can bring the text to the front or the back of an image, so we can overlay text on there so it peeks out from the image. Or if you wanted to overlay text, for example, if you're going to do a shadow, you know, for example, do the text in black and then overlay that in a different colour, we could do that. But as I say, just from the purposes of the demonstration, we'll run as is. We do have the option as well to give us some guidelines. So you'll see there's a ruler going around the screen at the moment. That would be ideal if you're wanting to measure out particularly for your cake. But we do have an area where we can mark that out for piping. So if you do want to pipe around the cake, we can print that off and pipe around that. And that's probably suitable for a more rectangular cake. But as I mentioned, our cake for this demonstration is going to be circular. So we'll just go back to the rulers. Once we're sort of happy with that, we can go ahead and do that. We do have an undo button, but as I mentioned, if you don't want to keep in place, you can undo it. But we'll just move on to the next section there. So once your image is ready, you can print, and you do have the option to do a number of copies. So, for example, if you're doing a number of cakes, you might want to print that off 2 or 3 times. You know, once again, you can also save the job as well. So if you get a customer, say, you know, in a bit of a rush, saying, "Look, can you design something or draw something up for me, and I'll come back and pay for it," you could save the job and then bring that up at a later time. The key thing really with this, and certainly from speaking with other customers, first of all, to save yourself a bit of time, is just to get a bit of background from your customer and to gauge what they're wanting, and the system will be more than capable of sorting their needs. Which brings us on nicely to the next section. Next section, we're just going to show you how to do an image from the software itself, and we'll cover some cupcake toppers as well. Now, our customer has come in, and it's going to be for George's 60th birthday. Now, you'll see we've got a number of set images already on the screen, so vast variety, hundreds and hundreds of images to choose from. But this particular customer, as we sort of drilled down and done a bit of questioning with, we found out that George is actually 60, and George doesn't particularly want his picture on anything. He's a little shy like that. So what we can do, we do have a search option in there. So if we just input 60 and TH, we'll get a select of 60th images. See, we've got a nice blue image there, which we'll go with because we know George likes blue. So we've got a nice balloon image. We could go ahead and just print that as is and put that on top of the cake. What we can do as well, we can customize that. But we found out from our customer, George would like a round cake topper, and he'd also like some cupcakes to go with his purchase. So using the premium images, we do have the extend sheets, but we do also have pre-cut shapes as well. So, for example, if we're looking at a 7.5-inch round cake, we can print that off. And also we're looking to do little cupcake toppers. We do have a 2.5-inch round. Now, so in terms of the media, we do also sell this media as well. So if you're looking for cupcake toppers or a nice round cake topper, we can provide that. So as I mentioned, we can go as is with that image, and you know the job's done. What we might want to do, as we've done earlier, is just customize that a little bit more. So if we move into the next section, we might want to add George's name in there. We might want to resize or make the 60th image a little bit different. So we can do that using the tools that we've used before, or we might just want to add George in there. So George likes blue, and he might also want a slightly different font from the one that we've used from Becky. So we can just change that around a little bit. And then once again, we could leave it as it is, or we could bend that around the actual image as we're doing now. With the pre-built phrases, we do have a lot of interesting options in there. And we do have one in particular which would be suitable for George, which is over the hill. As again, we're just going to curve that around the balloon. Once again, really quickly and really easily, we've produced a nice design for George. We've got that customized to suit his needs. And as I mentioned, we can print that off so that would fit on a 7.5-inch round. We can also do cupcake toppers. Now, with the cupcake toppers, you'll notice that we've got the actual printable sheet that we'd be using. With that, what we can do, we might want to have a different design in there. So all we need to do, we just need to take off some of the design. We could run that through the printer, print off the blue design. Then we can rerun that and add another design into the gaps there. But the purposes of the demo, we'll see that George is quite happy with that design. But I give you an idea that you can still use one media credit and have a number of different options there for your cupcake toppers. Following on from that, we'll move on to our next example, which would be how to apply a frame and photo with words. This particular example, we have a young mother that comes into the shop, and her daughter is called Verity. And like many sort of young girls of your age, she really likes unicorns. So once again, using the search criteria, if we put unicorn, we can actually find a nice unicorn design. Select that. We can use that frame to put a picture of Verity, which I mentioned. You know, you could look at an email to you, give you on USB, or you know, you could scan that in. So once we've got the Verity on our PC, as mentioned before, we could crop the image, but what I would advise you to do when you're using a frame is not to crop down the image. And the reason for that, we'll show you in a second, is because once that's in the frame, to a more rectangular image. Once that's a frame, you'll see we can move that about. Now, if we crop that, you'll see there's a white area on the screen there. Ideally, we don't want white areas showing. It's fine if you've got a picture with a white background, but ideally we want as much of the image on there as we can. So what we could do, we can move the frame and we can resize the frame with the photograph in there. We can reposition that how we wish as well. As I mentioned to you earlier, we might just want to customize that a little bit, so we'll just put Verity's name there. And might want to change that to a nice font. That once again, just making that look a little bit different. Might want to curve that around the heart shape. And once we've got that in, we might want to add another layer of text. And then we want to put something like happy birthday. Again, after we've done a little bit of fact finding with our customer, we've actually found out that Verity's going to be 4. So for today, we could position that wherever we wish. So we've got text having around the heart shape. We could leave that large on the bottom or curve that around the bottom or within the bubbles, wherever we choose. But as that fits around the image nicely, we'll go with that positioning. And the image is pretty much ready to go and print. As mentioned earlier, we can add multiple layers of text to that. And as I mentioned before, we can save that job or print multiple versions of the job. So once again, we could save that. So you know, your customer can come back to it, or say if it's something where you want to do a few designs and come back to them, you could do that. My advice to you would be to just try and ask a lot of questions beforehand, because it would save you a fair bit of time in terms of the design options. Once we're ready to do that, we've got a nice topper for the cake. We might have a think about what we can do around the cake. So just to show you something a little bit different now. Of course, I have ribbons for cake, which people, you know, still buy and still like to decorate the cake or boards with. But you may want to look at an edible ribbon. So we can scroll through a number of these. We've got a lot of these on file. But given the fact that we had a unicorn image and there's a lot of rainbow colours on there, we could just do a criteria search for rainbow. We've got a lot of rainbow images, but we'll just go with the first one we've got there. We do have an option for extended strips in terms of the photo sheet. What the extended strips will do is give you some nice banding, which you see on screen there. But we can also customize the ribboning or banding that's going around the cake. And we can literally use same text that we've used on the cake. So you can add Verity's name to a band, put happy birthday, we could also put for today in a new box as well. Here we've got a really nicely designed cake. We've got some really nice colours. We've managed to produce that really quickly using the software. So, you know, literally in a matter of minutes, we could get that printed off. And if you've already got a pre-made cake, we could just apply that to that. Straight away, you know, rich images, happy customer, and more importantly, a really nice customised cake to suit Verity's needs. Now, moving from that, as I mentioned earlier, we will be covering a few different ideas there for you. So to cover some advanced options for you, we do some images, or rather designs which we've worked on. So first of all, we'll show you Chloe's 18th birthday. It was very similar to perhaps something you may have seen from an online card provider. But with that, that is literally just made up of images which we've imported, photographs. The background itself is just a rainbow image that we've imported, and the black box which we've got the 18th birthday on has been imported. Once you've got a layout, you could literally just bring in different photographs or change the borders for that, as we're doing on screen. We could change the font and the colour. So again, once you've got a design like this saved, you could just customise it for another customer's needs. And as I mentioned, we can also produce that. We do also have a saved image as well, which we'll show you in a second for gentlemen. So if we just bring that one up on screen, just to give you a bit of an idea. And this one's for Jack's 40th. We've kind of done that in the position of a newspaper. And then once again, we can just literally strip out the detail, change the text, or move the pictures around. And once again, you know, customize that to suit your customer's needs. As I say, you know, once you've got some of these designs already saved, it's literally just a case of bringing in new photograph, changing the text, and customizing it. So with a bit of time and a bit of effort, you can already have some pre-made designs on top of the designs that we already have in the software. However, just to take this a little step further, as I mentioned, Nik, our resident cake decorator, has come up with some really innovative ideas. And we do have some really interesting things to show you. So in terms of one of the things Nik's been working on, you'll see we've got some nice cake decorations. Now we've got a winter snowflake design which Nik's produced, and with that you can also literally print that off on your photo printer, and the design would look like the cake does on the right hand side. So literally all we've done, we've stuck the bubble type decorations back to back, stuck those together, and then kind of dangled those off from a cake. So as you can see, some really nice decoration there. Lots of innovative ways of using that. We do have something a little bit different to show you as well. So then, using some different shapes, we've got a nice sphere. So a nice cylinder rather. So we've got kind of like a pointed shape there, which we can use, triangular. We do literally print that off on the fondant sheets and then, you know, stick that together. So in terms of that, you can produce something that will go on top, around, or next to a cake. And like the dice, which are there, once again, that could be put together to give you a nice little dice shape that you can once again hang or decorate or put on a cake. So really interesting ways of using the photo printer there. And it's also come up with another design which is a little bit out of the box. So in terms of the next one we're going to show you, I remember seeing these when you were a kid, but in terms of the actual itself, it is a Spitfire plane. Nik's drawn that up, and then literally all we've done, stuck the two wing parts together, the two body parts together, and the rear side of the plane wing. We've put that on and stuck that together. Got a little hole out through the main body, and then literally pushed that through, and then got there is a nice little aeroplane, 3D aeroplane. And once again, you might sit that on top of a cake, you might dangle that from the cake, or you might have that sitting alongside it. And the important thing is it's all edible, it's all fun, but as it's just some really out-of-the-box ways that you might want to use that. But I know we've covered quite a few different areas, but just to kind of mention to you, I know obviously in terms of the print, it's something that you've got on board, but the PhotoCake's only $225. With the pack, you get the speed-adapted printer, the cartridges, the media, and tray. The print itself has been customized, so it's been modified for print, printing edible sheets. And this comes with unlimited technical support and 2 years warranty. As part of that package, we do also set up a setup call with support, so we can talk you through, setting that up and working with it. And also receive a sale package for your business, which will help advertise the fact that you're a PhotoCake specialist too. So with that, you will get posters. You will also get, a hanger. You'll also get a binder with just some ideas in and some leaflets. So really, that will help you advertise this, too, from a business perspective. We've covered quite a few different points there, but just to see if you had any questions there.
Yes, so I've got a couple of questions, please.
Yeah, sure, no problem at all.
Right, as we've got the plane still on the screen, so when you put the wings through, would you need to keep the backing paper on, or would it be strong enough to hold it is?
Well, literally, what you would do, and all Nik's done, so he's literally cut out, so basically he would take the backing paper off that, he would cut out the actual wings themselves, and you'll see how there's two parts to the wings. But it's just circling them there. He would stick those two back to back, and then he's made a little sort of cut into the main body, which once again he stuck back to back, and he's just slid that through. So you've got double the amount on there. So, and as I say, that's literally a live sort of picture, which is just sitting up.
So it would hold up straight. You wouldn't have to support it underneath with a blob of icing or something.
No, as I say, I mean, I've literally seen, what Nik's using. Obviously, the SUG sheets themselves are a little bit thicker than the start sheets. So, the recommendation, I'd probably go for the SUG sheets when you're doing that. And Nik's busy nodding there, so agreeing with me as well. So that's probably a better solution. But I'm sure you'll see there are loads of really interesting things you can do with it. And as I mentioned before, it's all edible as well, which is great.
On the edible ribbons that you did, the Stimbo one and that, would that be all to stick to the cream cakes, or will it through?
I'll cross to Nik, because I think it's one for Nik.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Nik.
I wouldn't really recommend sticking it onto buttercream unless it was going to be eaten within that same hour. Buttercream being wet, sugar paste being wet, I'm sure you know what's going to happen after that.
Yeah. Okay,
particularly with it being a print on as well. I think what you may find is once it gets too wet is the print may start bleeding.
Right, lovely, thank you.
Okay, no problem. I'll pass you back to Darren. Unless there's any other foodie questions for me?
No, just one more about the cupcake ones, that's all.
Oh, I'll pass you back to Darren.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, just one more question. So on the sheets where you did the cupcake toppers, you've got 12 on a sheet. Can you resize that? I know the sheets are pre-cut, but could you resize it if you did a normal sheet then to say get more on that were smaller?
So what I'll just quickly show you. So as I say, the pre-cut sheets are ideal, but there is another thing that you could possibly do. I'm just going to jump into the helm there. So I'll just use this 40th design there. Basically what we could do, so if you can just see that on screen.
Yeah.
We're using one sheet where the design is going to appear, and we've actually, in the custom section, we've actually got the size there. So I know we said 2 before, but if we said 4, once again, we're covering a bigger area, and then you could then cut around that. Also, just in terms of the options you've got. You're going to do it on squares, you can do it that way. Obviously you've got a circular image there, but the options there are so that section there would cover it. Obviously, extended sheet for that particular one, and then as I say, we could keep in, we could have an oblong shape, or we can literally just go massive. So you've got the scope to do that as well.
Cool. Last question then: if we were doing a multiple image, or say like scan 2 photos in, putting them on the same sheet, could they be done on the same sheet, and could they be done at different sizes?
Yeah, so literally just going back to what we're showing there. So it seems sort of strange if we go text only. I think it's the option. So my apologies if it's not. So I had a photo. If I use this football photo, so you get that. If I just crop that down to there. So that one there, and we add another photo. And what we could then do, I'll just use Jack again, and we'll just go for circle there. And once again, we could make that one really tiny.
So it would be much like the newspaper card one then, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah, and then literally, all we sort of did was just bring in a sort of block of colour. So what you can do, you could bring in your sort of blocks of colour in, just to kind of show you, to give you a bit of an idea, what we've sort of been doing for that. You'll see we could just got big blocks of colour there. So, if I pick that big blue block, we just click OK, and using the centre back button, we could put there. And apologies if I'm going really quick on this, but just to give you an idea. So then if we grab that red block up there, and then we send that to the back. Once again, you can literally use that to kind of customize your own things. And the thing is with the fonts as well, if I just use let's use a good look one there, and then we can make that as big as you want, really. What I'm going to do, just to quickly show you the drop shadow as well. And we'll pick a nice yellow, for example. So kind of straight away, you've got some really nice options. The interface itself's dead easy to use as well. But if you get stuck, you have got technical support. The guys here have been fully trained, and they know their stuff as well, so they'll be more than happy to help you.
Brilliant. No, the printer arrived today, now the delivery, so I think Patrick's going to set it up tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll be having a play. Brilliant.
Well, as I say, within the pack, you do have the media sheet. So you've got the cupcake toppers as well. So if you want to have a go with those, you can. And you've also got some SUG sheets as well. So if you wanted to try and do your own plane or something like that, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, just to say, both from myself and Nick, thank you very much for joining us today. And once again, thank you for getting our printer, and thank Patrick as well. And if you think of anything else, we'll be more than happy to help. But thank you very much for your time today.
Lovely. Great. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
You well. Thanks now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.